Syracuse and Duke. The casual fan might say it's a basketball rivalry, but trust me, these two schools have a lot more hate in them than just what Jim Boeheim and Mike Krzyzewski can contain. Through 20 matchups, Syracuse and Duke have traded numerous blows, and along the way, they've won a combined 14 national titles. Now, with both of them on the ropes, they need to get over each other to get back into the hunt. The last 4 matchups have each been decided by a single goal. Who has the all-important tally in them this time? Let's discuss next on Cuse Countdown. Hey, welcome to Cuse Countdown, your #1 sports show from the studios of CitrusTV. I'm Ben Shulman, and with me are John Eads and Ian Unsworth. Boys, how are the brackets going so far?
I made a second chance bracket. That one's looking
How's that?
okay. So far, the games haven't really started, but...
Well, in my second chance bracket, I picked Gonzaga to the national title, so that's not exactly working out. And while we would usually still be talking about basketball right now, they didn't play well enough to let us do that. So, men's lacrosse traveled downstate to Stony Brook for a bout with the Seawolves this past weekend. And the Orange struggled to command their in-state foe early, leaving for the halftime break with the game tied. Syracuse broke out of the half with an 8-goal run, though, and seized a 13-6 lead they wouldn't relinquish. Tucker Dordevic led SU with a career-high 9 points. Look, guys, this win helped the record a bit, but since we're last on the air, the Orange also lost to barely ranked Johns Hopkins and dropped off the polls themselves. It feels like despite this win, Syracuse is not contending with the top teams. The Hop loss plunged the Orange to 0-4 against ranked competition this year. John?
Yeah, it's really because the defense has been bad against these ranked teams. SU allows over 15 goals per game against these ranked teams. They're last in the ACC in goals against average. They held Stony Brook to 9, but Stony Brook's not a ranked team.
Well, how about this? Jacob Fopp, on the other hand, has stepped up because of his new coach, T.D. Erlin. Syracuse needed someone to have a better time at the X because it wasn't getting done last year, and Fopp, with some help, with some adjustments, made a huge difference, winning 6 out of 7 faceoffs in the third quarter against Stony Brook and helping SU on a 5-1 run.
While TD is helping the faceoff numbers, the team overall cannot be helped right now. The Orange are outside of the top 25 for a second straight week, a feat that hasn't happened since 2019. Is this week a good chance to get back into the polls, John?
I think so because, like I said before, all the losses have come against ranked teams. This would be a big win for Syracuse against a number 10 Duke squad. I think it would propel them back into the top 20 because it's not like SU's bad. They have a lot of good pieces. They're just not getting the job done against the best teams in the country.
Syracuse might be the Los Angeles Lakers of collegiate lacrosse. Great reputation, and the pieces are just They're always going to hang around. They're still receiving votes, but they're not good enough to be in that upper echelon.
Well, not terrible day for Tucker Dordevic to be LeBron in this example, but what I didn't say before when I was talking about SU's 10-7 loss to Johns Hopkins 2 weeks ago was that SU hit 8 pipes in that game. Even half of those go in, and the game flips on its head. I say all this to ask Ian, has this team maybe outplayed its record? Has it gotten unlucky?
Maybe in that Hopkins game. There was some bad luck going on there, and Coach Gait said at halftime they had to make adjustments, tell his players, just shoot for the goal, shoot for the middle, and hope it goes in. That's bad luck, but overall, the Orange have not played to the top against that top competition in UVA and Maryland.
Syracuse is definitely better than 3-4, but again, this is Syracuse, one of the best programs in college lacrosse historically. The expectation is just higher. Now, if SU was in a weaker conference, they could probably be, 4-1, 5-2, whatever you want right now. But again, it's the ACC. The best teams are in this conference. Syracuse is expected to be one of those year in and year out. They're not getting it done here about midway through the season.
And that's part of the reason why none of us are too overly impressed with the win over the Seawolves recently. But something I never mentioned from the Stony Brook game, Bobby Gavin got the starting goal for SU and the finish. His first full 60 minutes in over 3 weeks, but it's still a 58-42 split between Gavin and Harrison Thompson this year. John, what's the deal in net?
I don't think there should be any more deal. Bobby Gavin is this team's starting goaltender. Coach Gait used this last game against Stony Brook as kind of a check-in for Bobby Gavin. And boy, did he have a great game. Tied his career high with 13 saves. He's had 3 different games this year where he's made double-digit saves. How many does Harrison Thompson have? 0.
But the stats look the same. Gavin's played more minutes, yes, but they're both allowing around 13.5 goals per game. The save-to-goal allowed ratio is similar as well. It all just comes down to practice, John. What's the saying? If you have 2 goalies,
you have none.
You have none.
Same with quarterbacks.
John, you bring up the defense, and while the goalies are important, no one can make stops without good defense in front of them. So, at the wall, John has for us the opposite of good defense.
Thanks, Ben. The Syracuse defense has been better recently, but it's still not where it needs to be. 2 reasons why. Lack of communication and lack of awareness. And it's coming not only from Syracuse's best on-ball defenders, but its most experienced players. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So first play, Stony Brook in an open set here. Here's Nick Kikamo, redshirt freshman, the best on-ball defender this team has. Look at Brett Kennedy, though. Redshirt senior, been playing a lot of lacrosse. He's leaving the best player on the field, Dylan Palinetti, wide open. He gets a good look at Cage. He doesn't score, but he would later. Spoiler alert. You can't have Brett Kennedy ball watching. That's a simple, basic, fundamental thing. And a guy that's supposed to be one of the best defenders in the ACC just can't be doing those things at this point in his career. Let's look at another play, though, because it's not just the experienced guys. It's the inexperienced guys. All right, so another open set for Stony Brook. Kevin Mack probing from X. Now, I want you to look at Landon Clary right here, the LSM. He's on crease. Stony Brook's in an open set. There's nobody on the crease. His man is out there. He's wide open. He catches the pass and scores as a result. Now, Clary hasn't played a whole lot of lacrosse this year, so that shouldn't be too alarming, but still, another basic fundamental of lacrosse. If you're sliding adjacent, if you're sliding from the outside defensively, there's no reason to be on the crease. But let's go back to Kennedy. He's not off the hook just yet. Again, Nick Kikamo on-ball defense, Kevin Mack probing from X. Now, this is an adjacent slide, meaning they're sliding from the outside. Now, Kennedy goes. Kevin Mack was no threat. He's not going to score from out here. Who will score is Dylan Palinetti, and he does. Again, the best player on the field, getting open looks, and it's Brett Kennedy leaving him wide open. You can't afford to do that in the next game against Duke if you're Syracuse.
John, I love the passion. You're right. The second best scoring offense in the conference is coming up. We'll preview that next roadblock, Duke, on our next stop on CitrusTV.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham-bam minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high-five.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Hey, welcome back to a Syracuse Duke edition of Cuse Countdown with John Eads and Ian Unsworth. I'm Ben Shulman. While this will be the 21st matchup between the Orange and Blue Devils, Syracuse doesn't necessarily know this Duke, as our Ian Unsworth explains.
Duke's offense, consistently one of the best in the nation year in and year out. This season, the Blue Devils are top 5 in the country in goals per game. Last season, it was Michael Sowers, the diminutive Princeton transfer, who made magic for Duke on a nightly basis. He had 81 points, 44 of those assists. A dishing wizard was Sowers, but he's off to the PLL, so who takes the reins? It's Brennan O'Neill. The former #1 recruit has 32 goals on 110 shots. Yeah, that's a lot of chances, but O'Neill is sure to capitalize. He's got a very big frame, and he can get wherever he wants. But it's not just the St. Anthony's product, because Duke has 4 players, yes, 4 of them on that offensive unit with over 30 points, about an even split too with goals and assists. You've got guys like Dyson Williams, the Canadian, with his powerful lefty shot. You've got Sean Lully, the Penn transfer, who's really taking advantage of that graduate season, and Nakai Montgomery, a lacrosse player so good that, he said in the fall, I'll go play football. I'll walk onto the Duke football team and still be a top 15 projected pick in the upcoming PLL draft. There's plenty of weapons for John Danowski, and Syracuse is going to have a tough time stopping this Blue Devils offense on Saturday. Back to you, Ben.
Ian, you're right. The biggest difference, at least in my opinion, no more Sowers. Brennan O'Neill has to step up into that leading role for the Duke offense, and that's something everyone has noticed, including Syracuse's head coach, Gary Gait.
Big, strong, shoot the ball, likes to shoot, and I think we want him shooting. We just don't want him to get, quality shots. We want him taking, pressured shots and hopefully get some saves and some misses, and we want him frustrated. So hopefully he's trying a little bit too hard, and our defense will be doing a good job.
Wanting O'Neill shooting, guys? Look, I'm not as smart as Gary Gait, but I don't know about that.
Well, guess what, Ben? You don't have a choice because the guy's third in the ACC in shots per game. He takes 10. He's going to force feed himself against this Syracuse offense, even if he's not open. Because I think Nick Kakemo, Syracuse defender, is going to get the job of covering him. He's going to do the best he can, but Brennan O'Neill's the best offender in the ACC, so he's going to get his, that's for sure.
The other thing SU has struggled with, penalties, and O'Neill is going to be wide open on the right wing in those man-up situations. He is lethal when it comes to step-down shooting.
Look, guys, O'Neill is great, but Michael Sowers was arguably the best player in the country. He's gone. With O'Neill leading the way, Duke is surprisingly outscoring itself from last year. Aside from the main man, Ian, why is this happening?
Because there are more options, first of all, because Duke has also played 11 games, more than anybody else in the country. And the more face-offs you win, the more you feed that offense, the more opportunities you have to create. Guys like Nakai Montgomery are unheralded, at least over the past couple of years, because Sowers drew all that attention. He could spin behind cage, he could pass out front and feed to Joe Robertson standing in front of the crease, but Montgomery, Lully, all these guys present different looks for defenses. It's super hard to game plan and even adjust within the games to these different looks.
It's a different look. Like last year was all Sowers from X. That's what this offense was predicated upon. Brennan O'Neill can dodge from anywhere. He plays attack, but he can dodge from the top, he can dodge from the wing, he can even dodge from X. This guy is 3 players in one. I do think the offense is a little bit worse, though, without Sowers because they don't have another guy that could dodge from all of those places like O'Neill can.
Of course, this supporting cast is important. It's not just O'Neill. So let's meet the other key players on the Blue Devils, starting with Joe Robertson. Now, this guy brings just about as much experience as anyone on this Duke team has. They call him Captain Clutch, and that's because in big games like this one coming up against Syracuse, he shows up in the biggest moments. He was huge last year, had 3 points in that game, but most importantly, 2 of the first 3 goals for Duke. Expect him to be threatening early and often once again. John, who do you got?
I got Jake Naso, Ben. The reason why he gets the ball in the first place is because of Duke's starting Fogo. The guy's a sophomore. He's probably the best player in all of college lacrosse. He led the ACC last year, winning 63% of his draws. He's an All-American last year as well. This year, he leads the ACC again, and he dominated Syracuse last year, 24 of 32, including 9 for 10 against Jacob Fopp. He even scored a goal against Syracuse last year, and this year he's doing it again. He's got 4 goals and an assist this year, as many as he scored last season. So he's a dual-threat player at that Fogo spot.
TD Ierlan's going to have to be big again for Jacob Fopp to keep that momentum going. But how about on the defensive end, the guy that shut down all SU momentum last season, Mike Adler. He made that last-second stop to clinch the Duke 15-14 win down in Durham. And as a grad student transfer from St. Joe's before last season, he's really cemented his role inside the crease. A third-team All-American last year, All-ACC as well. He leads the country in saves, has 140 of those, and he is extremely flexible. You see that save down to a knee, quick with the spoon up high, and made a career-high 20 stops against Richmond earlier this season. Up to the task at all times, Mike Adler.
Adler's awesome. I think last year Syracuse probably had the goalie advantage. Not this year, but we've talked enough about the Blue Devils. Let's get back to the Orange and debate. This is CC, and that's coming up next on Citrus TV.
you? Superheroes?
Just four brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Here's to the straggly ones. The first ones. Hey, I look good with this ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. The itchy ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones. And the absolutely filthy ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Learn more at Movember.com.
Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. John, Ian, Ben Shulman here. And guys, spring break just passed. What was the most relaxing thing you guys did on break?
Going to Stony Brook?
Ian? Nothing relaxing on break at all.
Well, I actually went to a very nice restaurant in Boston on a rooftop of a building called Contessa. It looked like something out of The Godfather. It was quite nice, and I had a great breakfast.
I stayed in a hotel in New York City on the 48th floor. I woke up one morning surrounded in fog. It's like I was in heaven sleeping on a cloud. Couldn't see a thing.
That doesn't sound like it's relaxing to me. That sounds like what we're about to do a lot of right now. Panic. It's time for Panic Meter on CC. SU's most historically successful team right now is in a lot of trouble, sitting at 3-4. So we're going to ask you guys how much you're panicking about some different storylines. You give me a rating 1 to 10. Everyone ready?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. The first topic we're going to start with here, the SU midfield. Heralded for the last couple years and still has two big hitters in it, Tucker Dordevic, Brendan Curry. But the other guys, Lucas Quinn, Pete Fiorini, Griffin Cook, have contributed 2 goals between the 3 of them in the last 3 games combined. Do they have a good enough third option in the middies? John?
They do, but that option isn't exactly a goal-scoring option. So in terms of the midfield and panicking with its lack of production, I'm at a 3 because Pete Fiorini, he's not a big goal scorer. He'll appear on that man-up unit and just pass the ball. Griffin Cook as well. He's a guy that used to play attack for this team and would dodge from X. But what he does is distribute. And Lucas Quinn didn't even play against Stony Brook. So he's a guy that's played on this first line. He scored some goals for this team this year, but he's not someone that can take a big shoulder for this team.
Let me get this straight. You said you were at a 3?
I'm at a 3.
So you know it's out of 10, right?
Because you can't expect Pete Fiorini, Griffin Cook, and Lucas Quinn to be that guy. That's just not their game. That's not their skill set. So if you want to talk about goals, I don't think it matters.
So who else is going to do the scoring?
Brendan Curry, Tucker Dordevic take care of it all. They just got to get
You
the ball.
can't put that all on their shoulders,
They can
John.
handle it, though,
You
because
can't
they put up 5 points per game
I'm
against
at
nothing.
8. I have real problems with this Syracuse midfield. 12 goals between all of them, not named Brendan Curry. Who is that third option? I think it's your guy, Matteo Corsi.
Should be.
But he's not getting on the field. Gary Gait's got to figure this out sooner rather than later, and because he hasn't done it yet, I'm at an 8. Pretty high.
Fair enough.
I will say, I lean a little bit closer to Ian. John, quickly, what is Lucas Quinn's job if it's not to score?
Lucas Quinn's job is for one to play. He didn't play against Stony Brook. He's got a long-term injury.
Fair.
We don't know how long he's going to be out for, but he's a shooter. And when given the opportunity, he has scored this year in big games against Maryland and in the first game against Holy Cross.
Another guy who had a big game against Maryland, Jacob Fopp, and he's at 58% this year from the faceoff X. But he just lost out in a game against Stony Brook and got demolished by UVA earlier this season. With his inconsistency, Ian, how much you panicking?
4. I've talked a lot about T.D. Erlin, and I'm sticking with that. He is the greatest face-off man of all time, and he's helping Jacob Fopp make strides. P.D. LaSalle at UVA is the best in the country, and sometimes you just have bad games. Stony Brook was one of those bad starts, but again, Fop rebounded,
second
he
half.
made changes.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident in that development, and that's why I'm only at a 4. I'm not that worried.
And he only lost by like 2, so it wasn't like it was some big disparity like Petey LaSalle did to him previously. Only the second time this season that Jacob Fop has lost the faceoff battle. I mean, that spot has been one of the bright spots for this team. So I'm at a 4 as well with you. And against Stony Brook, he was going up against Renz Conlon. He didn't win a lot of those faceoffs clean. A lot of those came from the wingers and from ground balls off of those faceoffs. So I'm not really panicking about Jacob Fop, but he's got a pretty big test coming up like we talked about earlier, Jake Naso, this weekend. He's good.
Fop having kind of an up year after last year. I think that's probably pretty relaxing, non-panicking for him. SU on the other side, 3-4 with all but one of their remaining games against ranked competition, which SU is 0-4 against this year. The Orange could easily finish below 500 for the first time since 2007. John, you panicking about that?
Not at all. I have a close friend that recently got me into candles, and it's funny because the flavor is eucalyptus, and it's supposed to be stress relieving. So I'm at a 1 right now, guys. I have this team pegged at 5-9 coming into the season, so I'm not too concerned with what they're doing right now.
First of all, eucalyptus is a scent and
I
not
like
a flavor.
to eat candles in my free time, Ian. You live right across the wall from me.
I know, and you also almost got mercury poisoning, so that's a thing for another time.
I didn't, though.
But I'm at a 10. We are on complete opposite sides of the
what did you
spectrum
have this
here
team doing
because
coming into
we're
the year?
on separate walls. It's a 10 because this team is going to finish under 500. They're not making the NCAA tournament. So you expected it. I expected it too. But like, come on, can we not have a little panic about this team underperforming expectations? I said Syracuse are the Lakers of college lacrosse. All the Lakers fans go crazy when their team isn't performing as they're supposed to. So I'm doing the same thing. Syracuse is at a 10 because they are not going to make the NCAA tournament or finish 500.
If I may, all the losses have come against ranked teams. They've been competitive games as well. We got to remember, it's the first year of Gary Gait. There's still chances for this team, for this program, to pick up some big wins. I'm thinking about Cornell, thinking about UVA later in the year.
Cornell is undefeated and number 3 in the country.
They're not that good. They're not that good. Syracuse will beat Cornell. Heard it here first, and we're going to be just fine.
Bucket and book it right there. John, you have them beating Cornell. So what do you think the record is at the end of the year? Because you're saying easily above 500.
I had 5-9, and I think I'm sticking with that. It might bump it up to 6-8, actually. You'll see why.
So why aren't you panicking?
I'm not panicking because I had them finishing under 500 coming into this year. So I'm not surprised at all. That's why I'm not panicked whatsoever.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
For the future.
I don't even know.
Well, I appreciate you guys both turning up the stress levels, but we can all take a step back and relax now. Let's take a break on Cuse Countdown. We got a little more coverage coming up for you before we wrap it up on the other side.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Wait. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where did cats go on vacation? New York.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us on Cuse Countdown for the final time with John Eads and Ian Unsworth. I'm Ben Shulman. We're wrapping up the show now, so it's time to get to our final segment, 4 quarters. We start with the first quarter. Duke head coach John Danowski is quite familiar with Syracuse, given the Orange and Blue Devils have matched up 15 times in his tenure. But for Danowski, the history goes all the way back to his Hofstra days in the late 80s. John, does that much SU experience give Danowski an advantage?
I guess, but the team is completely different now than from what it was 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Teams are different year after year. So, yeah, it's nice to have that experience, and he's certainly had a very decorated career, which we'll get into in the next quarter. But I'm not sure how much it matters coming into this year's matchup with a completely different team.
If John Desko was at the helm, yeah, maybe you give Danowski the edge. If Roy Simmons Jr. is at the helm, maybe you give Danowski the edge. But with Gary Gait implementing some new things, some creative ideas, no, there's not that much of an advantage. Same players, yes, but that applies for both sides.
Well, guys, it's interesting because he does kind of know Gary Gait. 3 of those Hofstra SU matchups included Danowski, the coach, versus Gary Gait, the player. Gary did have the edge in all of those matchups easily, but does the coaching edge side with Duke in this game? Ian?
Well, you never really know because these are 2 guys with opposite philosophies. Danowski sides with more of the defensive approach and Gait is all towards offense. You look at the assistants. How do you take anyone on that Duke staff over Dave Petromala?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, he has won 3 national championships, and he's been there for so many years. He's produced 78 All-Americans. But like you said, Syracuse has Gary Gait, kind of an inexperienced men's lacrosse coach. Of course, he did some great things with the SU women's program. But they've also got Dave Petromala, former Hopkins head coach, and he runs that defense. So those 2 together, I think there's strength in numbers over just the one in Coach Danowski.
And you're bringing in that new blood. Gates got the Spalinas coming in. There's a lot of energy around Syracuse going forward. And Duke, this year with some early struggles, might not have that same juice in the following seasons.
Well, regardless of who's better right now, Danowski has the history on Gait in terms of at least coaching the men's game. He took a relatively competitive Duke team, and John, he created a 2010s dynasty in Durham.
100%. I mentioned the 3 national championships before, 2010, 2013, 2014, and here's something. They made 8 consecutive Final Fours a couple of years ago. Nobody had done that since Syracuse back in 2000. So what he's done at Duke is unbelievable. Great players year after year after year. He's coached 2 Tewarts Award winners on top of the over 75 All-Americans as well.
Something you know with this game as well, it's always going to be close. 6 of the last 8 have been decided by just 1 goal. Danowski said it himself when talking to the media. Everybody's always prepared for this thing to go neck and neck down to the wire. Last year, Duke was up 12-7 at halftime. Adjustments were made, and boy, that was a nail-biter, if not for Mike Adler.
Yeah, it was a 12-5 game for Duke at one point, ended with Syracuse leading 14-13 and then losing 15-14. We know that both of these programs have an illustrious history, but it's time for our 4th quarter predictions. Ian, who wins this game in the present?
Hate to be Debbie Downer, but I've got Duke. 13-10, and it's because of all the different options on Duke's offense. You've got O'Neal, you've got Lowly, you've got Dyson Williams, you've got Montgomery, and do we know if Jacob Falk can consistently beat Jake Naso at the X? I'm not sure. So I'm sticking with Duke, especially because this offense has been high-powered night in, night out.
That's fair, but I've got Syracuse winning 15-13. This defense is playing as good as it has all season. I think Jacob Falk will hold his own. Let's not forget, this is a guy that wins 60% of faceoffs year after year. Tucker Dordevic, Brendan Curry will lead this offense to a 15-goal output and a 2-goal win.
And Ben, before you get your prediction in, we just want to say thank you for all the time you've put in here at Citrus TV on Cuse Countdown, helping us through our journey at Citrus and throughout all of Syracuse's student media outlets. You've been such a great inspiration for us.
Well, thank you, guys.
Brother.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and it's been so fun to do a full year of shows. We don't often get to have crews stick together semester to semester. Doing it with both of you, great. That'll do it for Cuse Countdown. He's John Eads. He's Ian Unsworth. Make sure to check out all of our bonus content across Citrus TV, Sports, YouTube. We got a TikTok, as Brad Klein will tell you. We got pretty much every social media possible. Production crew is great. Thanks so much to Colin Bach and Ryan Nelson, who put me on before, and Matthew Bonaparte, who allowed me to come into the station and learn as a junior. It's been really fun coming on Citrus TV for a long time, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. But once again, for John Eads, Ian Unsworth, our entire crew, I'm Ben Shulman. Have a good night.